I started this podcast because I'm fascinated by how we get better at bridge, how we reach that next level. I'm talking with expert players about how they got where they are and what they do to continue honing their skills, to less experienced players about what they're doing to improve their game, and to experts in fields outside of bridge, like learning and expertise. If you're looking to level up your game, check out my classes on Learn Bridge Online. Mondays are about the expert thought process, and Thursdays are about declare a play. You can attend the classes live or you can watch the recorded replay. I'm looking forward to leveling up together. I'm joined today by Nabil Edgtton, who is a member of the Australian Open team and a mainstay at the US Nationals. A bunch of good results. Second in the Reisinger last year, right?
Yeah, had a good little run there.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks for being with us, Nabil.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Let me start. How did you learn bridge?
My brother and I learnt bridge when we were about 7 and 8. My dad learnt and then taught us. I think it was part of a wicked ploy to get us to hang out on our own for 3 hours at a time and give him some spare time, maybe. So his ploy worked, but he pretty much quit after that, and my brother and I just never stopped, basically.
Does your brother still play?
No, he got himself a normal life and a normal job. He's in tech sales, so he lives in LA at the moment. Yeah, doing the boring thing.
So what was your development as a player like? You were on the Australian junior team, right?
Yeah, I was on the junior team. My brother and I played until we were maybe 16 or 17 or something like that. Once we were large enough for the fights to get dangerous, that's probably about when we stopped playing. I think our first international tournament was the World Under-21s in Thailand. We were about 13 and 14. That was probably the start of our saga of losing to the Israeli teams overseas in tournaments. It's funny, we used to have a rule when I was about 10 or 11. Peter Gill was the main person who taught us growing up, and we had a rule that basically we played 3-no trump with Adam declaring, my brother. That was a rule for probably the first 3-4 years, and it works pretty well.
So what was that mentoring experience with Peter like?
He was just awesome. Peter's one of those people in your life where anything they ask you, you don't even think about it. It's an automatic yes. Yeah, he was just around all the time. He would drive us to the nationals every year and back. He would play with us. He would get us partners and teammates and all that. He was just there for support whenever we needed it. He's got an absolute heart of gold. Peter's the man. I love him with all my heart. I think I owe pretty much everything I've done in bridge to him in some way.
Does he still serve as a mentor at all? Like, do you send him
No,
hands or anything?
more teammate. When we first started our little project of coming over to the US Nationals and stuff, the team was myself and Michael Wibley and Sataj and Peter Gill. We played maybe a year and a half or something together, maybe 5 or 6 nationals. Something like that. Actually, a little bit of a awful story, I guess. I made the Australian Open team when I was 18, and I did it playing with a player named Paul Gosney, and Paul Gosney previously played with Peter. And so, in a sense, I kind of stole Peter's bridge partner, and I think we maybe beat him in the final of the trials that year, or maybe it was in the semi. Yeah, that's how I repaid him.
Were you a reader of bridge books?
No, not when I was younger. When I was younger, I never read any books or anything like that. I was more just a play and work it out type person, I guess. I think when I was younger, a big part of my edge in bridge was, I would say, outworking people. Like, I worked really hard on partnership agreements and everything like that. I really believed in doing things the right way. That's been throughout my bridge career. Yeah, a pretty big part, a part of me, just sort of being organized, working really hard, taking it really seriously, being really intense. When I was younger, just competing was war, basically. And, I wasn't there to make friends. I was there to win. And so I think that helped me a lot growing up, that sort of mentality, but also is not as quite the way that I am these days. You know, you can still be serious about competition, but you don't have to be antisocial at the same time. I used to try to separate the two things, but you know, life's a bit too short to be hyper serious and borderline aggressive.
How has playing poker affected your bridge? What have you learned from playing poker?
I used to think that both of them hurt each other. So I played a lot of poker and a lot of bridge in my late teens to early 20s. And I used to think both would suffer because basically what would happen is I'd go away. I'd I was playing poker pretty much professionally. For my as my only income source, and I would play it for a few months, and then I'd go away to a bridge tournament, and for the first few days of the bridge tournament, I'd be rusty because I hadn't played bridge in a little while, and then I'd play the bridge tournament, and then I'd come back to poker, and I'd be rusty at poker for about a week and a half, and wouldn't play my best, and all that kind of thing. And it led me to actually taking a break from bridge because at the time I thought to myself, well, I'm going to play bridge for the rest of my life. I don't want to play poker for the rest of my life, but there's a lot of opportunity around right now at poker, and maybe I can just work hard, make a lot of money, and then quit poker and just play bridge for the rest of my life, which didn't exactly work out. But eventually, I think once both the games were like set in me, I had a lot of experience in both of them. I found that they started giving me an edge in the other because I'd come from bridge and I'd come into poker. It's a bit hard to describe or quantify, but I would just look at the game through a different lens. And those lenses would often help me to break any of the conventional wisdoms sort of ingrained in you. An obvious way that one helps is at the bridge table, I definitely get reads that help me in certain situations. And that's just from sitting at a table for so many hours at a time, playing a strategy game and looking at people's faces and, being able to understand what's confidence, what's excitement, what's somebody being tentative or worried or scared. Once you start getting used to seeing those emotions, you can translate them into what they actually mean in a certain bridge position. Yeah, a recent example was like I was playing in 3-note trump in a pairs game over in the States. Dummy had ace queen fifth diamond and I had 3 low in my hand and I pulled a low diamond off dummy and the person on the right won the jack like confidently. When he played the jack, he just knew he was winning the trick. And so when I was back in my hand, I didn't take the diamond finesse. I just played like a spade up towards the king queen because I was like, I don't have many entries. I kind of need to do this, and everything just turned to gold there. I ended up getting a top kind of thing, and it's just small things that people don't realize. In poker, people try to have a poker face, but it's not as much a thing in bridge, and so people actually give a fair bit away in little things like that.
What do you think about the transition some tournaments are making to playing in an electronic format, like the U.S. team trials are played on Love Bridge now?
So originally, I hated the idea. I was on the no side. Like, I love my cards. I was originally a hater. And then I was in two minds because at least a few matches or a bunch of hands or something from every single tournament where you just like, these guys are cheating and they're getting away with it. The small edges really, really help, like, or hurt, in this kind of environment, and you just have to give up an edge to all the people who are cheating. And this is like not collusively cheating, just doing all of the littler forms of cheating, tempo, fake tanking, intentionally misdescribing your bids, not giving away that information, all that kind of thing. I had an idea that these hands, there should just be a database. There should just be a database of interesting bridge hands. As long as there's camera footage, which there are in all the big tournaments, you just post, hey, this interesting hand happened.
Has that brought you around then on playing electronically?
I was expecting it to be this like play on BBO type experience, and I never wanted bridge to be that. But I found like the tablet to me simulated holding my cards in a weird way. I felt like I was playing bridge at a bridge table.
I was also against them originally. Like, it's a card game. But I've played a couple times now with the U.S. team trials, and it solves so many problems. All these high-level hands, the data's right there. It makes slow play better. Do you feel like you lose some of your poker player reading people edge?
I thought there was a little bit for sure, but at the same time, I thought it was definitely worth it. So you still have the opportunity to get reads on your screen mate, but it's not the same in a digital environment. So I would definitely say that you lose probably 60-70% of that edge in that sense. But to me, it was just like so much more worth it.
Okay, so you must have come up with Fisher and Schwartz and played against them a bunch as we were talking about cheating. What
Yep.
was that experience like? It sounded like they beat you a bunch of times.
My first World Championships was the under 21s. We were, sort of unknown Australian team. The format was a round robin and then semi-finals and finals. We came second in the round robin. Israel came first by, I think, a long way. They were by far the best team. And Israel got to pick out of second, third, and fourth who they wanted to play. And they picked us, even though we came second. And they beat us, and then we lost our bronze medal match. And then lost lots of World Youth Championships, either directly to them or indirectly to them.
Did you know at that point? Could you tell that something was amiss?
We felt like they were always lucky. We would look at a bid or a play they made, and like that is bad. Like that's objectively bad. But we just felt like they were always lucky. I feel stupid to say it, but I never even thought about the cheating in bridge at all at that time. We were definitely naive in, just never even considering that they were cheating, and it's crazy. I was showing him my cards when he was dummy all the time, and like, I was just, I was just absolutely getting stolen from. And yeah, it culminated in, I made the Australian Open team when I was 18, and we went over to the Netherlands, and we just missed out in the bowl. But then we played the transnationals afterwards, and I don't know, it was about 200 teams in the transnational. And we made it all the way to the finals. And who did we face in the finals? The Israeli team. And yeah, lost to them for a medal in the World Championships. And it was only a couple of years later that all the cheating stuff came out. Pretty sad. Who knows what could have been without them around? Maybe I'd have a gold medal, but for now we keep trying.
So when I started this leveling up project, you reached out to me and you sent me this incredible document that you've compiled. Tell us about it.
For quite a while now, I've been interested in like personal optimization, basically, getting my body, getting my mind into the best possible shape that it can be in order to play bridge. There are people out there who seem to be able to go out and party and drink and then just, not sleep and show up and play incredible bridge. But I've definitely never been like that. The difference between my A game and my B and C game is quite a big difference. So it's really important for me to get myself in the right mind frame, in the zone, have everything working. And yeah, probably over about, 10 years or something like that, I've just tested pulling every string possible. Basically, try this, try that. All right, tried too much of this, tried too much of that. Let's do this. And yeah, I've kind of been documenting it over time and just picking up little things. And sort of eventually I put together my optimal bridge preparation plan. And then I got quite interested in the science behind a lot of these things as well. And so I sort of created this document. I call it The Mental Edge. And it just talks about a lot of psychology, fitness, science, some tools and supplements and things like that. I've always been interested in, call it nootropics, things that can help your mind's ability for memory and focus and all that kind of thing. And I tried a bunch of different things. There's like lion's mane mushroom, and I think like omega-3s are good. But there's a website called examine.com, and they get doctors who basically pass through all the research and let you know what's real, what's fake, what has like some scientific basis, what has a lot of scientific basis, what is a scam, all that kind of thing. And I went through a bunch of different topics, health and fitness and memory and heart health and all that. And there was one on memory and focus. And that was the one that was the most interesting to me. I was taking three things at the time for memory and for focus. I opened it and it said, there is one thing and one thing only that you need to care about or take when it comes to memory and focus. And it wrote ... the humble blueberry. Basically, blueberries are like an absolute superfood when it comes to memory and focus. And since then, I've been known as the blueberry monster or other little nicknames like that. But yeah, I kind of ditched everything else that I was doing, and now I just eat blueberries every day, basically. If you see me with a little bit of the blue tinge on my lips at a bridge tournament, or snacking on some blueberries or something, that's why. But yeah, that's just one of many things. I think the start of my Mental Edge document mentions an article about the world's best chess players, and it really stood out to me because it was talking about them preparing for the World Chess Championships. And I think it was Magnus Carlsen against Fabiano Caruana. And Fabi's prep was basically run 5 kilometers a day, play tennis, do swim, and all that kind of thing. He was really preparing physically for the tournament. Mental games are physical. And so being in the best physical shape that you can be is undoubtedly going to help you in bridge or whatever other mental pursuit. So yeah, the document is just a bunch of little things like that you can do. I don't know if I've added this one into it recently, but it's a good one that I've added. Maybe people see me at the front of bridge going for a little sprint, short bouts of exercise. I think it has to be 6 seconds. You have measurable improvements on cognitive tests and things like that. Basically all of the little things that you can imagine like that in the document. And yeah, they've all helped me in some way or another. Some things I've tried and not used or found something better, or it doesn't really work for me, but I've included them in the document just because they might work for someone else. That's the history of the Mental Edge document.
So what does your routine look like when you're at a tournament? I imagine the first thing you do when you get there is go to the grocery store and buy blueberries.
Buy heaps of blueberries, yeah. That's definitely a thing. Okay, so at the tournament, we like to wake up at least a couple hours before bridge. I have a big breakfast with a lot of blueberries in it, and then I've had knee issues in the last couple tournaments, so we were more walking to bridge. We'll look for an Airbnb that's about 4 kilometers away, so that we do the walk-in every single day. But yeah, basically wake up, big blueberry breakfast, exercise. When my knees were better, we were going for a run, making sure we get a lot of sunlight in the eyes, around 10 minutes of sunlight in the eyes.
What is the benefit of sunlight in the eyes?
It's basically just a signal to your brain that it's daytime and you need to be awake. It helps you to be more alert and basically increases your level of focus in cognitive type stuff.
Does that mean no sunglasses?
It's not directly look at the sun. You just want sunlight coming into your eyes. So yeah, no sunglasses. It's basically just like blueberries, exercise, sunlight. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then do you sprint for 6 seconds between boards?
Not between boards, but pre-matches, I'll run up and down on the same spot for 10 seconds, like a sprint, basically. Or yeah, there's some breathing techniques like box breathing as well that seems to get me energized. But yeah, things like that. I always get a few funny looks or funny comments from people at bridge tournaments about things like that. But yeah, if anyone's ever seen me and laughed, now if they're listening to this, then now they understand why.
How about in between sessions?
Basically, small lunch, no carbs. So generally try to eat a salad. I think salads have a low glycemic index, which basically means that the energy isn't burnt really fast. It's burnt over time. I found personally that a big carby lunch is the worst thing ever and puts me to sleep. But I think high protein, low carb, or if you have just some meat of some sort, maybe not too much, or a salad, I think both of those things seem to work pretty well for me. And then I'm always starving at the end of bridge and I have a huge habit.
What does dinner look like?
Generally, when you're playing on a team with Sataj, dinner is heaps of Indian food. That's um, that's what dinner looks like.
Do you drink it all at a bridge tournament?
No, I don't drink for like a month before bridge tournaments, and I never drink at a bridge tournament. So generally, my prep for a bridge tournament is consistent exercise 4 to 5 times a week, 20 minutes of meditation a day, and lead up to the tournament. Obviously, bridge prep and that kind of thing, and yeah, no alcohol and no sugar. Basically, in the lead up to a bridge tournament, that's the blueprint. At least I can't say that I always keep to it, but yeah, certainly for American nationals and things like that, I will.
So that's like a month before you start
Yeah,
this regimen?
something like that. I mean, I don't really drink that much these days, but when I have drunk in the past year or two, it's often on the last day of a bridge tournament because I haven't drunk for 3 months and I've been a good boy and all that kind of thing, and now I'm finally like, oh God, please get me a beer or a glass of red wine.
How about in just your regular life? What are things that you do consciously to make your bridge game better?
Exercise would be the main thing for me personally, but I think this counts for almost anyone in bridge. The imps that you lose aren't because you couldn't solve the problem. They aren't because you didn't really know better in the spot. Most of the mistakes that you made were from a lack of focus. They were from not executing the maximum potential of your abilities on every single board in every single moment. I know that that's the case for me, for sure. And I think that was what the Mental Edge document was born out of. And so for me, it's really just how can I get myself into a position to be able to execute at the maximum amount of my ability. And so for me, that's exercise, that's meditation, that's staying away from phones. I stopped playing bridge for like a couple years when I was early 20s to focus on poker. And I came back to bridge and I just found that my ability to focus was gone. And I was like, what is it? And so I was drinking and partying and all that at the time for a few years. I was like, it must be all the binge drinking or the, recreational fun, whatever you want to call it. And so I cut those things out. I cut out drinking and I cut out other stuff and all that. And tested it for 6 months and I just found like it didn't really get me, it got me a little bit, but I'm like, what's wrong with my ability to focus? Why can't I concentrate? And yeah, I tried all these different things. And then eventually I realized it was my phone. It was social media. What I did at the time was I got off Facebook and Instagram. I think I have accounts still activated, but I haven't really used them in 5 to 7 years or something like that. So that was a big one. But one thing I also did was I bought myself like an old school brick phone that didn't have internet connectivity. So you could call me, I could call people, but my smartphone was left at home for various points of the days and weeks. I found that it lost its power. It wasn't like cognitively pulling on me. And so it helped my ability to be present and in the moment. And presence is focus and everything at the bridge table. Anytime you made a mistake, it's because your mind was probably wandering. It was somewhere else. It wasn't perfectly present in the moment, focused on exactly what you wanted to do. And so I think social media and smartphones and all that kind of thing are the antithesis of that, at least for me. And that's probably the single biggest thing that I think moves the needle.
Do you bring a smartphone with you when you travel to the States?
Yeah, I do. But I turn my phone off at night when I go to sleep, and it doesn't get turned on until bridge is over that day.
Why do you think what you're doing is not common? Right? It seems like we're competitors. We should look for every possible edge. Why isn't everybody binging blueberry?
There's different schools of thinking in this game where every edge matters. And if I can take 0.5% in 10 different spots, that's all of a sudden 5%. That's huge. But everybody has their own blueprint. So, just what works for me doesn't work for other people. But I think some people end up thinking that, which it's logical. Here is where all the imps are lost. I'm going to put all my focus on this thing rather than spreading it around. If I can chip into that and just focus all my attention there, then that's what is going to move the needle the most. So I sort of get it. And my view is that, part of you just do all of it, right? It's like, just work harder then. Think about the average competitive chess player and how much they would be studying and, taking everything just incredibly seriously. It just doesn't translate for bridge. And I don't know if I don't know if bridge is less of a serious competitive endeavor. Is bridge maybe a bit more social? Maybe because chess it's I'm going to call it solitary. It's, you do it, you compete yourself. And bridge is a bit more social. Maybe the social aspect makes it less serious to people or something like that. But yeah, there's certainly people out there who aren't, I think they're leaving money on the table. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good bridge players who smoke and like exercise for them is sitting
Don't
east west.
Nah, smoking nicotine gives you an edge. Nicotine is a nootropic. It helps you focus. So not that I'm going to take up smoking because of it, but yeah, smoking helps at bridge. I'm not sure if overall the effect on your health makes a difference or whatever, but yeah, it is a nootropic that helps helps you on cognitive tasks. So that one sort of makes sense. Coffee is also something I don't do as well. So at the same time, like I understand everyone's like drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, and that's actually giving them quite a big edge in terms of cognitive ability. So I really have to eat enough blueberries to catch up to all of that. So yeah, don't poo poo smoking when it comes to bridge.
Have you experimented with nicotine in non-cigarette form?
I tried. I bought some nicotine gum. I chewed it once. I hated it. I never tried it ever again. But yeah, I experimented.
Do you not like coffee?
Coffee I love, but I get a crash from it and it affects my sleep. So anything that affects my sleep is just not worth it at all. I do drink green tea because it seems to not affect my sleep as much. It's got L-theanine in it, which is sort of calming, and so a combination between caffeine and L-theanine has quite a good nootropic effect for bridge. I find especially for anyone who might get nervous or stuff in bridge, I feel like that can help.
So, if you were going to help me design a regimen for getting better at bridge, how much of it would be working on bridge and how much of it would be this other stuff of working on your body and your mind and getting the most out of yourself?
I would say that depends. If you dropped 100 imps at a bridge tournament, where would those 100 imps come from, do you think?
I mean, there's certainly things where there's a lack of focus or just doing something stupid. There's forgetting system and there's, judgment and just, getting outplayed. So, system stuff is maybe 10% and judgment is maybe 30, 40, and then the rest is focus, maybe. I'm just guessing.
Okay, yeah, of course we're just estimating here. So then, yeah, I would have you on the mental edge regimen for sure, as a big thing because that's 60% of your imps. And so, I mean, have you ever meditated before?
I meditate twice every day.
Okay, beautiful. That's a big one. Exercise. How's your fitness?
I walk every day. Now that it's nice out, I'm starting to play tennis again.
Okay, cool.
A little
You
bit.
sleep?
I sleep great. I sleep 9 or 10 hours a day.
Okay, so
And I do eat blueberries. I
and
like
you eat blueberries. Do you eat 100 grams a day?
No.
Yeah, I think there's diminishing returns. Above that, I think 100 grams is the level. How do your meditations go? Are you able to sit and I'm not sure whatever style of meditation do you do?
Yeah, I do transcendental meditation.
Okay.
And so it's 20 minutes twice a day, and I'm, focused on the mantra,
Yeah.
and I think I'm okay at it.
Okay. Yeah. You think you can, focus on that one thing for an extended period of time, pretty well?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you're doing really. Yeah, honestly, yeah, it sounds like you're doing really well in all of the main things, and you're still getting those 60% of laps of focus
Yeah,
at the
it's
table.
probably a lot less than that.
Okay.
It's been a lot less over the last year or two, which is good. It's heading in the right direction.
Did you begin meditating in the last year or two? Did you start?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. That's good.
Yeah.
Um.
And I mean, part of my problem has always been laziness. That, I'll look at the problem for a little bit as declarer and I'll come up with a plan and then just kind of go
Right.
instead of really digging down deep. And I don't enjoy that. I think a lot of people really enjoy that aspect of the game of just like getting into the weeds on every hand.
I think you will be surprised. I think you'd be surprised about how much the best declarers in the world, for example, actually fully get into the weeds about it. I know a player, I don't want to say their name because I don't want to give anything away, but they do a lot of, they're an incredible declarer, and they do a lot of work on their game. And the work that they've been doing on declarer play is basically crunching less and trying, often you see dummy comes down, you know what you're going to do 95% of the time, and you go through and you spend all this time and you check all that, and they just believe that basically the best declarers in the world are fast, and they put pressure on you in those ways. And okay, maybe there's a line that's 3% better if you spend all the time really thinking about it, but you're sort of giving the opponents time to think. You're really like losing that pressure element, and you're also losing your ability to maybe get some reads in spots that you otherwise might not get them by thinking for so long. I remember, let's call it 5 years ago, having a chat with Sitaj about when you're a defender and declarer is thinking, and a good declarer is thinking, you can often just like work out what the hand is. And he was talking about how maybe someone, maybe a Versace or something did it against him. He was like, how did he find this play? He must have worked out that because I was thinking, I must have had this hand. And I didn't really think too much of it at the time. It seemed like pretty deep and far out. And then, in the last couple of years, I've like found a few of these positions, and it's a really nice feeling to be able to win. I want to swing in the Reisinger against Medalla in this hand. Maybe it was a 5-level contract double. He'd bid like 5 over 5, and he was like tanking so much at trick 1 about the hand. And I'm just like, it just seemed like it was like, it had to be a bit of a boring hand. And I was like, and so I worked out he had limited entries to dummy, and he had 9x of hearts, and he had to be like a 2-suitor. He had to be like, was he 7-4? Was he this? And I was like, I guess the only time it mattered, it was that he had to be 6-5, and he kept on thinking, and I was like, he must have ace jack 10 fifth heart opposite 9x, and he must be working out whether to cross to dummy, whether to play the suit, anything like that. And I pretty much decided that it was the only hand that I could think of where it really mattered, and he had a choice of different lines of play. And so he had the ability to trump one of his hearts in dummy, and he played a low heart out of his hand, and I had queen third, and I instantly played the queen because I'm trying to have king queen fourth of hearts. He ended up playing a heart to the ace and roughing finessing into my partner's king of hearts because he played a low heart from dummy. I instantly won the queen, like I didn't think about it at all. I must have king queen fourth, right? And nobody really makes that play instantly from queen third of hearts. And so like I got him on the hand, and I wouldn't have been able to get him if he played fast at the times. That was sort of like an example of where against the best players in the world, there is an advantage of playing fast.
So just be lazy and play fast.
It's hard. You have to really do the work to be able to get to that. And I know people who are actually doing that work and trying to get faster. And it's not something I would recommend. It's not something I do at all. I do not agree with this. I'm a very slow player. I do not think that I'm at that level declarer play wise to go and make those plays fast. But one thing that Wibley's definitely told me before, and it's definitely true, that I play better when I play fast. But it's probably because when I'm playing fast, my mind's really sharp at the time. I'm seeing it all. I'm calculating really fast. And that's why I'm confident to play fast, because I've thought about it all, basically.
What does your individual bridge study look like, between tournaments?
I made my own bridge book, and it's not my own bridge book at all. It's a plagiarized bridge book, but I basically read, 20 bridge books, and I bookmarked all the best pages from every book, and then I managed to get a digital copy, and I cut all of the best pages into one book. This is the book. It's got like, I don't know how many different books are in there. Is that about 10? And basically it's just pages from a bunch of different books that I thought were interesting. I guess it's like all the themes I would say are in there, all the different types of declarer play hands, all the different types of defending hands, the technical ones along with the trickery and all that kind of thing. So I will read some percentage of that book in the lead up to it. I have these flashcards. There's about 200 of them. here.
Yeah.
And they're all just card play positions. They are technical ones. They're like suit combos. They're percentages of like breaks and things like that. And they are false cards and things like that.
So you went through and created all of these?
I went through and created all of these, yeah. Just like anytime there was a suit combo I thought was interesting, or I read in a book or something like that, I just went through and I just added it, and I just made flashcards and laminated them all, and I just keep adding to it over time. So yeah, there's like 200 of these. I'll be on a flight and I'll just be going through the flashcard and I'll just see this position. I'll be like, this position's this position's this position's this. And it's basically just drilling a lot of different card play scenarios in my mind. And so yeah, that's the other thing I do. And then obviously system work is a really important one. Of all the work I do, system work is the biggest one. We generally have a few meetings before a tournament, go over, let's say a month out from a tournament, go over the notes, go over little questions. And then once the notes are sort of like finalized pre-tournament, then it's probably like a week-long process of memorizing the notes. So yeah, that's a tough one. I actually find it's funny whenever I come back from bridge tournaments, I forget people's names that like these are like people's names that I should know. Like example might be like my girlfriend's best friend's name or something like that. It's like whenever I come back from a bridge tournament, it's always names that get pushed out. It's like fringe names. It's like I have only a certain amount of things that I can keep in my mind, or at least at the front of my mind. Bridge takes all of that and pushes everything else away. And I find for about a week coming back, I'm just like really bad on names. And then like, a week or two passes and it all comes back.
But you remember their names, and then you can't remember all your forcing pass agreements.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need the forcing pass agreements when you're not playing a bridge tournament, and you don't need the names while you are playing the bridge tournament.
What do your system notes look like? How many pages are they?
I think they're like 85 pages, but all pages aren't created equally. I'm sure our 85 pages are probably the equivalent of other people's 200 pages. They are like, it's side by side. Everything's in like table format and just like really abbreviated and everything like that. So
it seems to me like you're doing something different than most bridge players are. That you're really trying to get every drop out of what's there. And I really commend you for that. What sort of edge do you think it gives you?
I just know that the version of me that is exercising, meditating, studying, doing the exercise in the morning, getting the sunlight, eating the blueberries, I just know that one compared to the one that's, having a couple of beers and rolling out of bed and, an hour before bridge and then just like walking in. I know that the A version of me just absolutely destroys the C version of me. Like I've had a previous partner tell me basically like, how good is Nabil at bridge? If you play him in Australia, he's okay. He's pretty good. If you play him overseas, he's like really, really good kind of thing. Something to that effect. And that's just true. Difference between my A game and my C game is quite big. And I just know that I need to do all these things to be able to get to my A game. And yeah, I know that's not the same for everyone else, but for me, it's true. That's the edge it gives me. It gives me a big edge over myself.
It's inspiring. I mean, it seems like a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work over time. Like I'm actually lucky now. If you ask me how long these flashcards took me, that was, they've been brewing for a very long time. That book, probably from when I had the idea to make it to when it was actually made, was probably 2 years or something like that. And all of these things that I've sort of learned over time, yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's now gotten a lot easier. Now I just have the flashcards. Now I just have the book. I just got to read it. And a lot of these, lifestyle type factors have just become a bit of a part of my life now because, it's not just bridge that these things are useful for me. They're useful in all sorts of things in life. So yeah, I guess they're a part of me now, but over time it's been a lot of work, but that's sort of always been my belief. I don't think I have more bridge ability. If you look at the top 50 players in the world or something in terms of like talent or ability, I don't think I have it as much as the Medalas of the world or whatever. But yeah, I think I can outwork them to a point that I can compete.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this document with me. I think what you're doing is inspiring.
Thanks, Adam. Really enjoyed the podcast, and thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks, Nabil.
All right, cheers. Bye.